So just to give you a sense of scope, if there was a nuclear power accident at Indian Point, that would pretty much wipe out the New York metropolitan area for centuries as a livable communities. In Fukushima, in Japan, which happened in 2011, in March 2011, what saved Japan was wind, thank God. There was something called westerly winds, which blew 80% of the radioactive plumes over into the Pacific. Now, what that will create is a long-term Pacific radioactive pollution crisis, and probably a long-term crisis with things such as sushi and seaweed, and that goes into the global food chain, right? But the population of Japan, Japan is a nation, and I will just use a short quote from Nato Kan, who was a former Prime Minister of Japan during the Fukushima crisis. And he said that during the crisis, he asked the top experts to come around and tell him what the worst case scenario was. And he realized that as a nation, Japan would no longer be able to cease to exist as a nation. Hospitals gone, schools gone, communities gone. That even the greater Tokyo metropolitan area would have to be evacuated. If you look at Japan, these are little islands, right? Continuation, I'm going to leave on one point, which I think in a way is the most important. And I guess two things. One thing I should say is, in addition to the carbon emissions that are created during nuclear power, which is not monitored, so nobody knows the extent of it, but this is not a debatable source. This is in the industry literature, and it's not just, some environmental kook talking about it. This is known, but it's not monitored, so we don't know how much carbon that is. But we do know that during the mining process, there are massive amounts of energy carbon used, as well as the actual radioactive pollution, and that the waste we are creating lasts for millennia. That one reason why people don't grasp nuclear is because the concepts are almost beyond our conception. 10,000 years ago, this area was covered by ice. It was the Ice Age. So that was 10,000 years ago. The glaciers began to retreat about 20,000 years ago. Plutonium, one of the most dangerous of all radionuclides. Plutonium has a half-life of 24,000 years. Okay, what kind of hubris? What are we playing with where we're creating a toxic product that has a half-life and a full life of nearly 250,000 years? And that has to be kept for the environment, according to National Academy of Sciences, for 1 million years. We cannot get our act together on a day-to-day basis, but we have to creating waste that is going to put people in jeopardy for 1 million years. This does not make sense to me. And I think a key thing that we all have to do in the environmental community is inform each other. We're all in our little silos. They're the anti-pipeline people and the anti-fracking and the anti-nuclear. We got it. That's gone. Those days are gone. We don't have the luxury for silos anymore. We have to come together. We are coming together, and we're going to fight, and we're going to win.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It was such a body of knowledge. Many of you here today helped work to shut down Indian Point Now, which is coming 2021, right? Reactor 1 and number 2. And we still have to be careful of 3 Mile Island upstate near the Great Lakes. There's reactors 1 and 2, there's Gunay, and there's Fitzpatrick. And Governor Cuomo would like us to pay something like, I may not have this figure correct, $7.8 billion with a B dollars to bail out those nuclear power plants that are aging and ready to be closed. Climate change has caused many laws to go into effect that are needed, and we need many more. Now I'd like to introduce Edie Kantowitz, who's with United for Action, and Edie has been president of New York City Friends for Clearwater. She's done a great job.
Thank you, Catherine.
Well, you're welcome. And Edie is stepping in to talk about New York City Council Bill 034, who Ling Tzu has been working very hard on.
Okay, so folks, we have a lot of work ahead of us, but I'd like to tell you about one very specific and concrete, and maybe it looks small, but it's a very powerful thing that you can do right away to help the environment for Earth Day, okay? We have in the City Council a bill which is called Intro 135. Okay? It's City Council Intro 135. This was introduced by Councilmember Brad Lander, and Intro 135 is the bill that would ban or restrict the sale of styrofoam, polystyrene containers in New York City, okay? So it's a bill that's banning styrofoam, and I think we know that we need a ban on styrofoam, right? For many, many reasons, okay? We have a tremendous problem with our waste stream, with our litter, and actually styrofoam is one of the top 10 items that they found when they do beach cleanups worldwide. There's styrofoam out there, okay? But there's also styrofoam inside, because even when styrofoam is disposed of properly, it's still, because of its nature, it's very crumbly. It can blow off of garbage trucks, and it gets into the air, and then it winds up not only in our landfills, but it winds up also in our sewage systems, in our waterways, and it winds up in the oceans, okay? And so what happens? Different types of wildlife are exposed to this material. They're eating it. Land creatures, birds, marine creatures, all kinds of wildlife are eating the styrofoam, and then they die, okay? They may die because they get a blockage from a piece of styrofoam right inside them, or just from the toxins that are inherent in this material, okay? Now, you may not realize how toxic this is. It's a plastic. Plastics are toxic, okay? It has recently been shown that polystyrene, which is derived from styrene, which is what is made into styrofoam, is actually carcinogenic. And it's also derived from fossil fuels. It's a petroleum product, okay? So we certainly don't want to be using anything, if we can possibly help it, that comes from fossil fuels, right? Okay, so we have a lot of different reasons why we want to ban styrofoam, but lo and behold, the industry tells us that we can just recycle it instead. People are trying to say we can recycle the styrofoam. Do you think we can recycle the styrofoam? No. Okay. Because styrofoam is very different from a lot of other substances. Like we said, it's crumbly, it's very porous, okay? And so if you send styrofoam to a recycling plant, first of all, it soaks up a lot of the food juices that may be on it, the grease and stuff. And not only does it come into the recycling plant dirty and make other stuff dirty, but it will pick up more liquids and substances once it's there at the recycling facility, okay? Also, the little pieces and pellets of it will blow around and actually contaminate other things that could be recyclable. So you're actually making your recycling profile worse by trying to introduce styrofoam into the mix, okay? And Sanitation Commissioner Catherine Garcia put out a very detailed report last year showing that there is no feasible way for New York City to successfully recycle styrofoam, okay? So we just want to ban this stuff. There are alternatives that are fully compostable. We can live without styrofoam. We lived without it, you know, for thousands and millions of years, okay? All right, so there are two things that I would like people to do in order to help get this ban, okay? First of all, because it's city council, I would like everybody to call their city council representative, right? And if you don't know who your city council member is, you can easily find out by just asking Google, who is my city council member? And you'll get the phone number and you can call them up, and you want to ask them to support and co-sponsor this bill. It's Intro 135. And if they're already a co-sponsor for Intro 135, you can thank them. But if they're not yet co-sponsoring it, then ask them to be a co-sponsor, okay? The other thing I'd like everyone to do is to call City Council Speaker Corey Johnson. And with Speaker Corey Johnson, you want to ask him not only to support the bill, but to actually bring it to the floor of the City Council for a hearing. Because a bill in the City Council needs to go to the floor for a hearing before it can be voted on. So that's a crucial step. It needs to come for a hearing, okay? We currently have 14 co-sponsors for this bill, and with 26, we can be assured of passing a vote, okay? So this is doable, okay? City Council has actually been very responsive to environmental issues. We have allies there, okay? But we need to show them what's important to us, and we need to make these phone calls, okay? There's several different phone numbers for Speaker Corey Johnson, and I understand that the most effective one to call on, and I'll repeat this a few times because I see some people might be punching it into their phones, okay? It's 212-564-7757. Again, that's 212-564-7757. 212-564-7757. Speaker of the City Council, Corey Johnson. Okay, so please make these phone calls. You might want to make it right now before you forget. You might prefer to do it tomorrow and you can actually speak to a human being instead of just a voicemail. But please remember to make these calls for Intro 135, and we can ban styrofoam in New York City. Thank you.
Greenpeace has a big campaign, a worldwide campaign, Break Free from Plastic. And I'd just like to read this to you briefly. We put the equivalent of one garbage truck of plastic into our seas every minute, every day, all year long. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is now an area 3 times the size of Texas, and single-use plastics contribute greatly. And microplastics, and that's like all the plastic being in the water, eventually breaks down into these minute, tiny sizes that you can't even see with the naked eye. And these microplastics are getting into all organisms through water, including ourselves. So it's time we cleaned up our act and stopped using plastics. Sally Jones is chair of Peace Action Fund of New York State, and Sally helped start a chapter of Peace Action on Staten Island in 2002 where she lives. The peace movement activists like Sally join hands with the environmental movement to shut down nuclear power plants all over and to save the planet from climate disaster, war, and nuclear holocaust. Please welcome Sally Jones.
We should have a big thank you to Catherine Skopic for organizing this wonderful event here. I have been to others and it's always so uplifting and the signs are beautiful and I'm so glad we're here. That small group that we heard about, we're the small group, and there's small groups organized all over the city, all over the state, all over the country, all over the world today doing what we're doing. So I feel the link, I feel the energy. For the air, for the water, for the earth, for plant life, wildlife, for all life, this year is the most important year in my lifetime to be a peace voter activist. Peace Voter is the name Peace Action gives to a campaign that brings the values we as peace activists hold dear to the election booth. And as a member of Peace Action of Staten Island, New York State, and National Peace Action, I am excited to be here to tell you about it. This year, I feel a special passion to encourage everyone I meet to become a peace voter activist. This year, we have an opportunity to make a big change in Congress. In 2 months, in New York State, on June 26th, we will be voting in the congressional primary. You must be registered by June 1st to vote. On September 13th, we will be voting in the state election primaries. You must be registered by August 19th to vote. And on November 6th, we will be voting in the congressional and state general election. You must be registered by October 12th to vote. So why not register now and get everyone you know to register now? Our planet is in even more danger than ever from a U.S. president and his administration that is glorifying war and weaponry and selling it around the world, and that desecrates the values that we love and respect, and is represented by the green lady in the harbor, the Statue of Liberty. Whether you are 18 years or older or not, whether you are eligible to vote or not, you can be a peace voter activist. Spending $686 billion on the military budget has to change. Become a peace voter activist and change that. Spending $1.7 trillion for a new nuclear arms race has to change. Become a peace voter activist and change that. Fighting wars in 7 separate nations: Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia, Pakistan, Libya, and Yemen, and arming more than half the nations in the world on this planet has to change. Become a peace voter activist and change that. The U.S. backing of the Saudi-led war on Yemen has caused the world's worst humanitarian disaster on the Yemeni people. More than 22 million people, 3/4 of Yemeni's population, are in desperate need of aid and protection, according to the United Nations. Become a peace voter activist and change that. The Iran nuclear agreement has made the world a safer place, thanks to years of painstaking negotiations in pursuit of a peaceful means of resolving concerns over Iran's nuclear program. Now the Trump administration is threatening to pull out of that agreement. Become a peace voter activist and change that. Bring peace to the Korean Peninsula and prevent any kind of military confrontation there. That requires diplomacy and patience, not confusion and bluster. Become a peace voter activist and change that. Join me in becoming a peace voter activist. Please answer, yes, I will, if you agree to these actions. If you are eligible to vote, make sure you are registered to vote. Will you do that? Yes, I will. Whether you are eligible to vote or not, make sure everyone you know is registered to vote. Will you do that? Yes, I will. Let people know you are a peace voter activist and hand them a voter registration form if they are not. I have extra forms with me today. Please take one. Will you do that? Yes, I will. Go to forums and events where you can ask candidates questions, record, and share their answers on social media. Will you do that? Yes, I will. Here are 3 questions you could choose from. Do you support increasing or reducing the military budget? What do you consider to be the goals of the mission of the U.S. military? Do you believe that the U.S. has a responsibility towards civilian populations harmed by war? And what is your view on accepting refugees from those conflicts? Well, you can ask any of those questions. Will you ask one of those questions? Yes, I will. Become an active member of a group that is working on peace and social and environmental justice. Will you do that? Yes, I will. Get out to vote and get others to vote on election day. Will you do that? Yes, I will. Thank you so much, and thank you, Catherine, for gathering us today.
I am here from St. Paul, Minnesota, and I am honored to be here to speak on Valentina's behalf. Valentina says hello. My name is Valentina Osa. I'm 11 years old and in 5th grade. I was born in New York, and I live in Brooklyn. I know everyone here is here for a reason, whether it's climate change, fracking, or pollution. I often think about what the world would be like if humans had taken over, if humans had murdered, raped, and abused. Can you imagine how different the world would be today if humans lived in harmony and peace with each other and other living creatures on this planet? I am here today to stand up for all the people who don't have the courage, the awareness, or the opportunity to stand up for themselves. For all the kids my age who have been told over and over that you are too young to make a difference. I am also here for the people who are doing this to our Mother Earth. I am not here to tell them that my way is the only right way or that they are bad people. I am just trying and hoping that they will open their eyes and see what they are doing is destroying the earth. I want them to think about the earth that future generations will inherit. If we don't stop now, who will have clean water to drink, air to breathe, an ocean to swim in? All these things are rights, not privileges. Every day children are suffering because they don't have clean water and they are worried for their lives. Is this the kind of world we want to live in? Animals and plants are becoming extinct at a faster rate than ever before. If they are dying, so can we. I remember the first time my mom told me about fracking. I was 5 years old and I cried and cried. I had a fear what it would be like when I was older. I had a fear that people were doing this to the earth and that they would not stop. I had a fear that we weren't just doing this to us, but we are doing this to all the animals and all the organisms of this earth. It just went against life itself. I started doing research, and every time I got more angry, I needed to do something. I asked my mom if I could write Governor Cuomo a letter asking him to stop the fracking. I asked my mom to take me to a rally because that was something I believed in. I did everything a 5-year-old could do to make a change. And we did make a change. Governor Cuomo banned fracking. But that's not enough. Climate change has gotten worse really fast. And we need to make changes faster. Governor Cuomo, we need you to stop the frack gas compressor stations. The chemicals go into the air and poison the water, land, humans, animals, and everything around it. We need you to stop the pipelines. We need no more fossil fuels. We need 100% renewables. You're the governor. You're the adult. Make this madness stop. In 100 years, we might not even exist anymore if we keep going at the rate we're going now. Animals are dying. Forests are perishing. People are getting angrier. We are throwing down bombs and they destroy cities and not even thinking. We are drilling into the earth like it doesn't matter, like the earth is just a thing we can throw away and get another one. We can't. If we destroy the earth, there is no turning back. There is not another one.
There are positive solutions being applied every day to turn the situation around. Here in the United States, there are now 105,000 women and men in all 50 states being employed in the wind energy sector, with a 9% growth in wind and 99% of wind farms located in rural areas. Wind turbine technician is the second fastest growing occupation after photovoltaic installer, that's solar. One place we can make a difference and do have control over is ourselves and our households, where almost every decision we make either helps or hurts Mother Earth. So we can live more mindfully. We can reduce our consumption, recycle, as Zanaji pointed out he did with his family, avoid plastics, and on and on and on. We can walk or bike when we can, rather than drive. We can keep educating ourselves as to what actions are best to help Mother Earth and live more sustainably. Add up all the households in New York City, New York State, the world, and we've got the job done. Thank you for being here. Happy birthday, happy Earth Day, Mother Earth.
Behind you, you'll see a group of dancers from dance2degrees.org. We are dancing to bring attention to the existential problem of climate change.